Hey, what is up everyone? This is PvT-Mitten's and I'm going to be continuing my series of games I'd like to see make a comeback. This is episode 2 and we will be touching upon Sega Rally. It'll be same as before. I'm going to, brief history, scores that there, and then what I would like to see, later on if they do make another one. We'll start with the first game. Sega Rally Championship was released in 1994 for the arcades, and then 1995 for the Sega Saturn, then the PC, then the Nokia N-Gage got it, then the Game Boy Advance got it a few years after, and then the PS2 got it at the end, which the PS2 version I believe came on the disc with Sega Rally 2006, which I will touch upon later. The only score I could find of them all added up was a 4.7 out of 5. That's pretty fucking insane for a score. That would make it the highest rated racing game if it's to believe it was actually scored that. But that's the second one. I played a bit of the second one on the Saturn. I never got to play any of the other versions. I never got to play the arcade version either, which is a bummer. Up next we have the sequel, Sega Rally 2, released in 1998 for the arcades, 1999 for the Dreamcast and the PC. Yes, it only got released on 2 platforms outside of the arcade. I've played this on the PC. Never got to play the Dreamcast version. This has got a 9 out of 10, making it the second highest rated in the series. Not my favorite in the series, but it is, in my opinion, there is no bad Sega Rally game. Up next we have the third one, Sega Rally 2006. As I said before, the first game was ported onto the PS2. I believe this game came with it on the PS2's disc for the extras. This game was a PS2 exclusive, never released to the arcades. It was just for PS2 only, which baffled me why it was never brought to the arcades. I mean, Sega and arcades go together like, bread and butter. But this is sitting at a 65 out of 100, making it the lowest rated in the series. I personally liked it. Yes, it was not the best in the series. I would argue it is the worst, but it doesn't mean it's a bad game in my eyes. Up next we have, my opinion, the best in the franchise, Sega Rally Revo, released in 2007 to the PS3, 360, PSP, and PC. Now I have the PS3 and PC version. I played the PC version first, and I will get to the arcade in a minute. The PC version I adored. I played the shit out of it, and when I got my PS3 in 2008, the first thing Devil knew, the first game I was going to buy that I already had on the PC, he says, "You're going to buy Sega Rally, aren't you?" It's me, yep. Now you're wondering, why was it never released in the arcade? It was, but not under the same name. Now this game got a 77 on Metacritic, making it, I think that's very underrated. Like, if you own an Xbox or a PS3 version, even the PC version, racing magazines at the time give this game 9 out of 10. They loved it. But why sit in such a score like that, I don't know. And yes, it's my favorite in the franchise. I adore it. Then we get the last one to be released, Sega Rally 3, which is essentially Revo, online, and the arcade. This was the arcade version of the game released with less content, and it was re-released for Xbox Live and PlayStation Network. Now, it was 2008 for the arcade version and 2011 for the PSN and Xbox Live version. So, if you own the 360 version of the original Revo, no point of having it. If you own the PS3 version of Revo, if you're a trophy whore, yes, it came with trophies. You might want to get the trophies. There was no platinum, but there was a few trophies. But you just better off having Revo. But I did get to play this in the arcade. It's the only Sega Rally I've ever played in the arcade when I lived in the UK, and I fell in love with this game. Like, I would go to the arcade. It was a bowling alley, right? I would play this game, Daytona USA. It was all Sega games I played in the arcade besides Marvel vs. Capcom, Mortal Kombat, and Metal Slug. But I adored this game. I must have put close to £40. I know it doesn't sound like much, but remember, it's like £1 a game. So I must have, I spent a lot in the arcade, If I ever won the lottery, I would buy the arcade machine of this game. But as I said, it's called Sega Rally 3 on the arcades, and makes no sense why it's called that. But yeah, now we'll get to the actual, gist of this series. Final one was released in 2011. That's what, 6 years now? Coming close to 6 years, of course. Now, Sega Rally is not my favorite Sega game, but it's my favorite Sega franchise. As I said, I don't think there is a bad Sega Rally game. I adore Sega Rally. They're my favorite rally games, even though they are very archaic, and they did something better than another game that did something first. Now, what I mean by that is, MotorStorm released in 2006 for the PlayStation 3, but it had what was called track deformation, meaning it only did it in the mud, which what it did was, if you were in like a heavy vehicle, any vehicle can do it, but we'll just say like a heavy vehicle, like say the big rig, or like a rally car, you'll leave the track marks in the track, making it harder for other vehicles because they'll lose traction because you've left it there, and they remain there for all the laps of that race. That was amazing. Now when Sega Rally came out in 2007, it was the year after, it did it. But I think it did it better because it did it on all the tracks that involved, snow, mud, dirt, tropical, the sand and all. But it also did it as well. But as I said, it did it better in terms because it was not just exclusive to the mud, it was for all the other types of, terrain. And I still think, when I think of track deformation, I do think of Sega Rally before I think of MotorStorm, even though MotorStorm did do it first. But I would like to see Sega make a new one for the PS4, Xbox One, and PC, right? But what I would like them to do is just get as much, like all the rally cars, you got your new ones that was never released back in those days. You Hyundai, put the Lexuses in, because Lexus used to be a rally manufacturer. Well, they used to have manufactured rally cars, meant to say. And put them in it. Just get as much rally car, get the license for it, of course. I mean, Sega's not poor at the moment. They're not like Capcom. They, for some reason, seem to be making a lot of money at the moment, which I'll get to later on. But why not release a new Sega Rally like that? More tracks, because their tracks aren't, exclusive to real life tracks. They're not real life tracks. They're made up tracks that they've made up. You could go wild on that and just make more tracks with more, unique, because I've always preferred, as much as I love driving in real life tracks, I've always preferred make-believe tracks, because I don't know, it seems like the developer more effort into it. I know that makes it a bit stupid, but that's what I like. Also, I would like them to do an actual career mode to this game. Like in the other ones, it was essentially an arcade game. Hence, race a couple of tracks, go to the championship, beat the final car, boom, there you go, get the thing, that's it. How about do an actual story, which I said this to Devil years ago. I said what Nintendo needs to do with F-Zero is do a story, like an actual story, like say like what NetherRealms did with Mortal Kombat vs DC, then they did with Mortal Kombat, and then Injustice. Do it with Sega Rally, like make you an upcoming rally driver, just and have make believe rally drivers. It doesn't have to be real ones. And do that there and give us a really interesting rally game. But on the topic of Sega's always going to put Sonic first. It's a given for that. But have you noticed they've been putting Yakuza first before anything else outside of Sonic? I love Sonic, don't get me wrong. I love Yakuza as well. Haven't played the new one yet, but I love Yakuza as well. But Sega, you've got more than 2 franchises. Bring back one of them. Bring back Afterburner. Bring back Sega Rally, especially Sega Rally, because as much as I like racing, is my 3rd favorite genre in gaming, and this generation for the PS4, Xbox One, and modern PCs, we haven't got much racing games, as opposed to how much we had. Because what? the consoles came out in 2013, or the end of 2013. So you're looking at what, close to 4 years? Within 4 years of the 360 and PS3, we had near enough close to double the amount of racing games, even triple, depending on if I'm talking about the Xbox, as the Xbox has more racing games due to Forza having more games. But come on, bring Sega Rally back. Because the only rally games we've got at the moment are the WRC series and the Sebastian Loeb, which is done by the same developer. Which, by the way, they're great at making rally games. And then you got Codemasters with the Dirt series, which they did the Dirt Rally, and then they're doing, you know, the Dirt 4 game coming out. But Dirt is a real, an actual simulator. The WRC are mid simulators, meaning you can choose to have your simulator or just go for a bit of semi-sim or have in between kind of thing. Sega Rally would be great because it would just be a full arcade game. It doesn't have to be, you know, they could just up the difficulty of the AI, or, you know, make the tracks a lot harder, you know, something like that there. But come on, bring it back, Sega. Don't be completely fucking stingy. And also, a couple of other things I'd like to see in the series before I finish off. You could change the skins of the cars, you know, like, you know, red Mitsubishi, I'll change the color. How about let us customize the vehicles? You know, like the colors, not the actual vehicle, of course. How about make your own driver? As I said, if we're going to do a story, how about, you know, you pick a male or a female and you make the story around them? That'd be really cool. Really cool. Or how about, on the topic of, you know, like customization, track editor. I mean, they're not real tracks. Why not introduce a track editor? Other games have done it. Mod Nation Racers, Little Big Planet Karting. I know they're, you know, kids racing games. But why not? They'd be really, the Sega, like, they could get up on the competition for doing that. And it just baffles me why Sega has abandoned this franchise. I mean, you could argue it's the reviews because, as I stated, out of the whole lot, only 2 are sitting on a very high review. The rest are sitting on average, and, you know, the PS2 one's sitting just below average. So, who knows? But that's episode 2, guys. I just want to see Sega Rally come back, bring a story into it, customize characters, customize the vehicle, more vehicles, of course, track editor, keep the same, you know, wittiness of the series, you know, like, you know, game over, yeah, all that kind of stuff, and, you know, keep the same, you know, narrator, you know, it's like, long, medium, left, maybe, you know, all that kind of shit. Keep it like that there. Just please bring it back, Sega, because it's my favorite franchise you have ever done, and I don't want it to fall into obscurity like you've done with other franchises, which I will be touching upon later on. But yeah, that's my episode 2, guys, for Sega Rally. Up next, I'll be doing a Sony game, so stay tuned for that. But anyhow, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let us know what you think. This is PvT-Mitten's. Take care, guys.